When you think of Goldberg, what comes to mind? The thunderous entrance, the sparks flying, the deafening roar of the crowd, the iconic snarl as he storms through the smoke. Then the spear, the jackhammer. 1, 2, 3. Done. Goldberg was a one-man wrecking crew, an unstoppable juggernaut. At least that's what we were told. But behind the pyro, the intensity, and the myth, lies one of wrestling's most divisive and controversial figures. Because for every fan who remembers Goldberg as an indestructible monster, there's a wrestler who remembers him as a dangerous liability. A man with more muscles than moves. A walking injury waiting to happen. Let's tear through the myth and talk about the man behind the mask, and why so many legends in the industry still can't stand Bill Goldberg. Let's start with the moment that changed everything. December 1999. WCW Starrcade. The match? Goldberg versus Bret the Hitman Hart. This wasn't just another booking. This was supposed to be a dream match. But instead of a wrestling classic, fans witnessed a disaster. A reckless Goldberg sidekick to Bret's head would end one of the most legendary careers in wrestling. And it wasn't just the injury. It was the aftermath. He never called, never apologized. I don't think he ever understood what he did to me, Bret said years later. He cost me $16 million in 2 seconds. That wasn't just bitterness. That was pain from a man whose livelihood was stolen in a heartbeat. A man who trusted Goldberg to protect him in the ring, and paid the ultimate price. The Saudi showdown of shame. Fast forward to 2019. Goldberg, now over 50, steps into the ring with another legend, The Undertaker, at WWE's Super Showdown in Saudi Arabia. The result? A match so sloppy, so dangerous that fans still talk about it in horror. Goldberg, in typical fashion, banged his head backstage before the match, giving himself a concussion before he even hit the ramp. Moments later, he rammed his skull into a ring post like he was trying to break down a brick wall. Then came the botches. A tombstone nearly broke Goldberg's neck. A jackhammer that looked more like a vertical suplex from hell could have paralyzed Taker. 2 legends. 1 catastrophe. All thanks to a man who made self-harm a pre-match ritual. A legend built on smoke and mirrors. See, all of this begins to make sense when you realize the ugly truth. Goldberg couldn't wrestle. Not he had a limited moveset, not he was a little stiff. He couldn't wrestle, period. His wrestling IQ? Non-existent. His awareness in the ring? Hazardous. And WCW knew it. That's why they kept his matches under 2 minutes, because the longer he stayed in the ring, the more obvious it became that their golden boy was made of papier-mâché. Take the infamous William Regal match in 1998. Producers wanted a competitive 6-minute match. What fans got was Goldberg missing spots, forgetting sequences, and looking completely lost, while Regal did his best to guide him like a dance partner dragging around a concrete statue. Regal later said, "I tried to have a match." Bill froze. There's only so much I could do. The truth was undeniable. Goldberg wasn't a wrestler. He was a gimmick in boots. The fake streak that fooled the world. Let's talk about the streak. Goldberg's so-called 173-0 record in WCW. A number so inflated it made wrestling purists laugh and WCW loyalists cringe. Insiders later revealed the truth. The streak was a fabrication. Usually counted house shows, dark matches, possibly even workouts at the gym. No one knew the real number. Not even Kevin Nash, the guy who ended it. "If you can find one interview where I say I ended Goldberg's streak, go ahead," Nash said, "because I never believed it was real to begin with." The streak wasn't a milestone, it was marketing. It was WCW's last-ditch attempt to distract fans from the fact that Goldberg was all sizzle, no steak. The WWE meltdown. In 2003, Goldberg finally arrived in WWE. Fans were hyped, the company was ready, and WWE did the smart thing. They gave him The Rock at Backlash. Surely The Rock could carry him? Nope. What followed was 13 minutes of awkward pacing, missed cues, and lifeless energy. The magic didn't translate. Goldberg wasn't just exposed, he was revealed. Things worsened during his feud with Triple H. Fans booed, ratings dipped, and Goldberg looked more out of place with each promo. But the absolute low point? WrestleMania 20. Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar. Both men were leaving the company. The fans knew it. The crowd hijacked the match, chanting, "You sold out," and begging for Stone Cold Steve Austin. The match? A lifeless, half-hearted brawl that neither man cared about. A fitting send-off for a career that never really fit in. Fast forward again to 2016. Goldberg returns. The pop is loud. The match with Brock Lesnar is short and fun. For a moment, it seems like WWE finally figured it out. Keep Goldberg's matches under 2 minutes and no one gets hurt. But nope. WWE reverted fast. Enter Kevin Owens, Universal Champion, delivering every week with Chris Jericho. Fans loved it. Momentum was on fire. But then came Fastlane 2017. Goldberg squashed Owens in seconds. Not minutes, seconds. And just like that, months of storytelling were sacrificed to give Goldberg a nostalgia-fueled title run. WrestleMania 33 should have been Owens versus Jericho in the main event. Instead, they opened the show for the US title while Goldberg got a marquee spot he didn't earn. Jericho was so insulted he started planning his exit from WWE, the Fiend that got buried. By 2020, Bray Wyatt had redefined what it meant to be a character in modern-day wrestling. Reborn as the Fiend, he wasn't just another gimmick, he was something else entirely. A monster, a myth, a psychological horror story wrapped in a mask with twisted promos, nightmarish visuals, and chilling mind games that hooked fans instantly. The Fiend was creative gold. His merchandise was flying off shelves. He wasn't just over, he was the hottest act in the company. And then came Super Showdown in Saudi Arabia. Facing a 53-year-old part-timer, fans expected a decent outing, maybe even some spooky shenanigans, and a controversial finish. But what they got was a slap in the face. In just a few minutes, Goldberg squashed the Fiend. No real struggle, no layered storytelling. Just a spear, a jackhammer, and the end of Bray Wyatt's main event credibility. Just like that, all the mystique, all the build, and all the magic was gone. Wyatt's momentum? Dead. The Fiend's aura? Crushed. The fans? Furious. And when the Backlash hit, Goldberg gave the same old shrug. I was just following orders. That's the same guy who used to preach about integrity and once slammed Kevin Nash for doing exactly what he had just done, putting himself over at the cost of the business. It wasn't just ironic, it was hypocritical and for many unforgivable. Why the industry turned on Goldberg. If you really want to understand why so many wrestlers and fans turned on Goldberg, you don't need to dig far. Let's rewind to WWE's Tough Enough. Triple H, the Game, one of the most respected minds in wrestling, took a young contestant to task for naming Goldberg as their wrestling idol. He's been in the business for a year, couldn't wrestle longer than 4 minutes, got everything handed to him, and that's your role model? Hunter wasn't burying Goldberg out of personal beef. He was teaching a lesson about earning your spot, about doing the work, about respecting the craft, and Goldberg had done none of that. Behind the curtain, his reputation wasn't just cold, it was toxic. Chris Jericho had physical and backstage heat with him. Bret Hart never missed a chance to call him reckless and dangerous. And when Goldberg was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in 2018, many wrestlers didn't even stick around to hear his speech. They left the building. That says everything. Because in pro wrestling, it's not about who gets the biggest pyro or pops the crowd in 2 minutes. It's about trust. It's about sacrifice. It's about protecting the person you're working with and paying your dues. Goldberg didn't protect anyone. He didn't pay dues. He cashed in, and the industry never forgot. The truth behind the myth. So what, in the end, is Bill Goldberg's true legacy? Not the fireworks, not the music, not the jackhammers. His legacy is that of a man who walked into wrestling with zero training, got pushed to the moon because he looked like an action figure, and somehow built a Hall of Fame career out of matches shorter than a commercial break. While guys like Eddie Guerrero, Seth Rollins, and Bryan Danielson were grinding in flea markets, sleeping in cars, and wrestling in front of 30 people just to chase a dream, Goldberg walked in off the street and got the keys to the kingdom. And he never showed any real humility about it. He injured legends. He cut short careers. He buried future stars. And every time fans or peers questioned him, he deflected. Never took responsibility. Never seemed to care. Goldberg isn't a wrestling icon because of what he did in the ring. He's a 2-minute highlight reel stretched across 3 decades. He's the product of hype, not heart. Of marketing, not mastery. Yes, he's in the Hall of Fame, but so are many others, and not all of them are beloved. Because when the smoke clears, and the fireworks fade, and the camera cuts, what's left? A man who fooled the business. A performer who coasted on nostalgia. A myth that never lived up to the legend. And deep down, the wrestling world knows Bill Goldberg didn't earn his legacy. He convinced you to believe in it.